The big question if you're starting a lawn care business is what kind of mower should I be buying? Let's walk through some of these options. So I'm really independent of brands. I really don't care what brand you choose the dealer. This is our dealer here. You really want to focus on having a dealer that's close by, that's going to have great service, that's going to really help you as a commercial operator and give you priority over their residential customers. So this is an Exmark, but literally use anything that's close by you that's going to service you well. So this is a 21-inch mower. I highly recommend when it comes to your mower and your trimmer and your blower, you go commercial. Yes, you could go cheaper and get things that are not commercial, but a lot of times if you mow more than 20, 30 lawns a week, anything residential is gonna start to fall apart. Back in the day, we actually did used to use residential Honda push mowers, but they're not even being made anymore. So in general, when it comes to your basic equipment of mower, blower, and weed whacker, i.e. a lawn care business, I recommend going commercial and don't skimp just on those basic things. You know, if you want to skimp on gloves or a nicer shovel, sure. But like these things you're gonna be using all the time. And at the beginning, I don't want to have to buy 2 or 3 of something just to have redundancy. I'd rather just buy one that works well. So this is a 21-inch mower. This is gonna fit in all of your gates. It's very easy to be able to teach someone how to use this when you get employees. So the smaller the mower, it's easier to train people. It's also going to make less damages. For example, if I'm running this bad boy right here, I got myself a sprinkler head. If this thing is up slightly elevated out of the ground and I hit it with a 21-inch mower, not gonna do a lot of damage. However, if I hit it with a 60-inch zero turn that weighs 800 pounds, I could completely wipe this thing out. Also, if I hit a fence panel with a 60-inch zero turn, I'm gonna completely obliterate the thing. This is probably gonna leave a scratch, and that's about it. So think about your liability, think about your training of future employees when it comes to your equipment. Remember, we're trying to match the equipment size with 80% of our properties. This is a 25-inch mower, so a little bit wider of a deck. Similarly, it's gonna help you get an extra 4 inches. Is it worth going from a 20-inch to a 25-inch? Are you gonna see a lot more efficiency? Maybe marginally, yes. Again, this is gonna come down to, this one's lighter. For example, we use this one quite a bit, the Y Bravos, simply because it's super light. It's literally lighter than this piece of 21-inch mower from Exmark. There's a lot of different factors you're gonna consider when it comes to the type of mower that you choose. If you wanna take it even a step further, we got 20-inch, we got 25-inch. Over here's a 30-inch mower. So this one's actually gonna have 2 blades underneath. It's a commercial 30-inch mower from Exmark also. It's gonna come with a bigger bag, but this thing is a beast. In terms of weight, this thing is extremely heavy. This one you're not gonna be able to pick up by yourself. At least most people are not gonna be able to pick up this mower by themselves. And you do have 2 blades. So sometimes, twice as much blade sharpening. You do have a bigger tank for fuel, so you can mow for longer. This one's nice because you do have now significantly, like 40% more actual deck width to be able to cut down on how many passes you'd have to do on a lawn. Again, if I'm mowing an area like this that's maybe 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 square feet, having that extra deck width would probably reduce my actual mowing time by 30, 40%. Very cool. The question is, are you willing to pay the difference? This is probably about a doubling of cost going from the 21-inch mower to the 30-inch mower. The thing that we found when it comes to push mowers, the biggest struggle is actually all of this stuff up here. Usually when it comes to a commercial mower, the deck is solid. Honestly, a decent Kohler or Kawasaki engine, etc., it's gonna do great. It's all these little knobs and levers and the cords and the cables. This stuff is what gets broken. So if you're gonna use these cheaper push mowers, I do recommend having some training in terms of maintenance, as well as making sure that all of your crew and yourself know how to change out the cables, sharpen the blades, do basic little functions like the handles, like this one over here. Our biggest problem with this thing is literally the fact that this plastic knob breaks all the time. This pull string cord breaks a lot. These are the type of things from a maintenance perspective, you wanna make sure you know how to fix these things, because these machines, it's not the big stuff that breaks, it's all the little small stuff that breaks quite often. Now, if you're gonna upgrade, because that's gonna be looking at anywhere from $1,500 to $3,000 typically for a push mower. Again, if you're doing property sizes that are under 5,000 square feet, you might be able to get away with just that using something like the ramp rack or not needing trailers at all. However, if we want to take a step up, we're going to move up to a zero turn. Now these are sit down zero turns. I'm actually just sit down and underneath me is going to be the deck. There's also stand on mowers. If we go over here, where you're gonna stand behind the machine. And this one's usually gonna be helpful for a couple things. Number one, it's super helpful for when there's gradients, when you have a lot of slopes. This one's a lot safer because if I need to get off, boom, kill switch, we're good to go. Much safer. And a lot of them, like this one here, I can simply push up this and now turn it into a walk behind. Very cool. When it comes to the sit down mowers, the thing that's nice about them is usually there's less operator fatigue because I'm able to sit down, I'm not standing behind this machine. And if I'm doing this for 1, 2, 3 hours, yes, it has some shock absorber for your feet, but you're standing up. And doing that for 3 hours straight can be taxing on the body. So this one's a little bit easier in terms of ergonomically. Also, if you have to bag clippings, this one's gonna be better because what you're gonna have is a big unit that sits in the back here, where you actually have a chute and collect all the clippings inside the back bags. This is a 60-inch, again, great. This one's actually not even a commercially rated unit. And this is where, even when it comes to zero turns, you have the decision, do you go all the way to the commercial stuff? And then what size of, like, how much commercial do you wanna go? These HD, heavy duty type models are kind of an in-between of, heavy use residential and then very commercial. So there's a lot of price range here. You're looking at anywhere for something like this from $5,000, $6,000 that's not quite a commercial ready unit. And then you have different sizes, 52-inch, 48-inch, 44-inch. This is all going to be determined by simply what size of property you're using and what are you going to have on the back of this thing. Do you need the bagger on the back of this so it has a bunch of bushels to be able to gather clippings? As we move around here, you can see it goes all the way down to 42, and this one's like much cheaper of a unit. I could probably pick up the front of this unit. It's much cheaper. So don't go cheap on these, in my opinion, if you're doing more than 40, 50 lawns and you're gonna be using this thing and you're doing large properties, just go ahead and bite the bullet on a commercial mower. Now, if we scale up, we can actually go to a more commercialized model that's gonna cost you probably $8,000, $9,000, $10,000 or more. And these can get very expensive. If you throw a bagging unit on the back of this bad boy that has like 3 bushels, you could literally be looking at $12,000, $14,000, $15,000 all said for this mower, which ultimately is probably what, like 10 times the cost of a 20-inch mower. The question is, are you going to use this often? And the biggest question I have when it comes to these zero turns is, what's my asset utilization? How many times am I going to actually use this massive 60-inch mower on lawns? If I'm going to be mowing grass and I have 20 lawns in a day and 15 of them I'm just using the push mower and 5 of them I'm using this bad boy, guess what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna get rid of the 5 customers that I need this on because they're 2-3 acres, and I'm just gonna go stick with the 15 customers that just need a push mower. So again, look at 70, 80% of your customers and ask, what's the largest piece of equipment I need to sufficiently service those customers? Another thing is, if you get the larger units, or if you have a good dealer, you're typically gonna be able to get 0% financing on a lot of this equipment. So here, this is Carl's mower out in Ferndale, Washington. They're very close to us. A lot of the locations from Augusta Lawn Care come to this location. Why? Because they take care of their commercial operators and give them priority. One of the things you want to focus on when it comes to choosing a dealer and you're just getting started is, if a unit goes down, will they give you a demo unit? Will they give you a loaner for the day? The reason that's important is because instead of having to buy 2 mowers in case one goes down, I can just rely on knowing that my dealer is going to take care of me if one does go down in the field. If I have a flat tire, if something happens with the battery or a spindle, I hit something with my blades and it wrecks everything, it's gonna take a few days to get the part in. If that's the case, I would usually need a second mower, but if you have a great dealer, very important to keep those relationships. And like, I would bring them pizza sometimes, I'd bring them ice cream sometimes. I wanted to make my dealer as happy as possible, so when they saw me drive in, or they saw one of my crew drive in, they would give me priority. And they make sure they take care of me if some of my equipment goes down. Because at the beginning, you don't want to have to be buying trucks or buying equipment that just sits around. Asset utilization is super important. Let's go inside the dealer. I want to talk about other aspects of your equipment when it comes to your weed whackers and your trimmers. Now, one thing to keep in mind, again, you can probably get 0% financing on a lot of this stuff. And so don't like be like, oh man, I can't get the 48-inch mower, even though I'm doing these big lawns, I'm gonna have to do push mower. Look, if you're gonna have 80, 90% of your lawns being an acre plus, you're gonna have to get a zero turn. And if that's gonna cost you, what, $180 a month, $200 a month, yeah, you might pay $300 a month for a zero turn. But if that means that's just a couple more customers. If you can get a couple more customers because you got this piece of equipment, let's rock and roll. Just know I wanna make sure my asset utilization is very high. In other words, how many days, how many lawns am I actually using that piece of equipment? If it's just sitting in my trailer being dead weight and I'm just pulling it around town all day long, it's costing me fuel, it's costing me insurance, and more than anything, it's dead weight. It's not actually doing anything for me besides needing a bigger truck and a bigger trailer. Let's go check out the trimmers and the blowers, see what's inside. All right, so when I first got started Augusta Lawn Care, I actually started with this system over here, where I had interchangeable parts for all the different tools that I needed, and I just bought one motor. So this is definitely an option. It's gonna save you a little bit of money, but ultimately, as you grow the business, you're gonna need to move away from this piece of equipment. What I found is a lot of times after changing out the heads many times and breaking them many times, I just realized I got so much better power out of having an actual backpack blower, an actual trimmer, an actual edger that was fully connected. But this is definitely an option at the beginning. You could literally have this as an attachment as a blower, and this bad boy is what, 150 bucks? Throw this onto an existing unit and you got yourself a blower instead of having to go pay $300 or $400, $500 for an actual backpack blower. But eventually you're gonna wanna upgrade. And what I recommend highly on the hand tools especially is don't skimp out on this piece of equipment. Yes, your mower, you might go from a $2,000 mower that you really wanted to maybe a $1,500 mower, but that $500, it's a small change. Here, and spending an extra $100 or $200 might be the difference between having a lot of breakdowns and having a piece of equipment that you can really rely on. For example, these are the trimmers. So if you want to upgrade away from an attachment system that's going to kind of be a jack of all trades, master of none, where you have an edger attachment, a blower attachment, a chainsaw attachment, a trimmer attachment. Look at all these. You got all these stuff. You got bed edgers. You got, I don't know what this is for, a reciprocator. Don't know what that means. Blower, chainsaw attachment. You can literally attach all of these things into one of these motors. This is an articulating scathe, and then you got a bush trimming thing. Let's go. Rototiller, edger. These are great. Cool. It's going to save you a little bit of money. But if you want to upgrade, you're going to step up to the actual straight edge trimmers. So over here, we got a trimmer looking at $229. If we go all the way to the other end, though, we have a trimmer that's literally $629. So you're like, oh, well, you said get the best, so we should get this one. Not necessarily. Keep in mind that some of these units are built to be able to operate literally 6-7 hours straight throughout the day. If you're doing small lawns and you're using this thing for 5-10 minutes here, 5-10 minutes there, you don't need the biggest piece of equipment, mostly from a weight perspective. This one, for example, is 14.6 pounds. If we go down to this one, for example, this thing's only $149 and it is 9 pounds. That's a lot less weight, and it's gonna be a lot easier on your shoulders and your arms if you're having a lighter piece of equipment when it comes to a trimmer. Now, if you are doing large railways, if you're doing along fence lines, if you're gonna be using a unit for a long period of time doing ditches, for example, yeah, you might want a larger trimmer. But usually something in the middle on the commercial end is what I'm going for. I don't like these bended shaft ones. This is usually a residential type of trimmer. I'm not a huge fan. I'm gonna usually upgrade to something a little bit better in the range of $200, $300, $400. I'm not going cheap on this. I'm going to go a little bit higher end and make sure it's a commercial unit. Also, I'm also gonna upgrade on things like trimmers. So at the very beginning, like I said, I was using the combi system where I can just throw attachments on. As I got a little bit bigger in my business, I started getting these straight line trimmers that are straight edge. Then I got these bush trimmers, again, separate. These are expensive. These are like $600, $400. These are not cheap. However, if you're doing a lot of bush trimming, this is gonna help you save time on every single job. Ultimately, these tools are meant to give us efficiency. And ultimately, when someone comes and is paying you to trim their bush or cut their lawn, they're essentially asking for the result. If we can get to that result faster because we have better equipment, good things happen. I don't want that piece of equipment to be sitting on the trailer never being used, and I don't want to be paying extra for something that I don't really save any time for. So the real question is, when it comes to these pieces of equipment, is their reliability, and is it going to make me more efficient? Am I going to cut more grass in the same amount of time? Efficiency, or am I going to have less downtime because things break less often? I highly recommend, especially when it comes to your weed whacker, your blower, and your hand tools, that you stay above quality, higher quality. I'd rather go a step down on my mower in terms of quality if I'm on a budget, and then have this stuff be really high quality, because you don't want this stuff going down, and I don't have to get 4 trimmers when I'm just getting started. I want 1, 2 really solid ones. I'd rather invest in that higher grade equipment. All right, that's all I got for today. If you want to learn how to make more money and get more customers, click this video here. It'll be great, and we'll see you on the next one.